Valedictorian is Kenny Edwards.
Good evening, sports fans. I'd like to thank Mr. Fisher for that very flattering and thoroughly researched introduction, and welcome everyone to Stratford Northwestern's 2014 commencement. This is a very important night for everyone, as it celebrates all the hard work we put into our time here. I'm honored you chose me to be your valedictorian, even though not many of you were actually very helpful when I asked what to write about. I would probably be pulled off the stage if I tried to mention half the things Simon said should be in his speech. Some people did offer ideas of how to present this, though. Many people know that I'm at school to study film, as Mr. Fisher mentioned, so they suggested that I make this address in the form of a movie. However, I didn't think it would be possible to get any of you to return to act out the parts, and Dave Franco wasn't available to play me. So, instead, I decided to write a pitch for a TV show about our time at Northwestern. It's called The Class of 2014, and it stars all of us. Episode 1. We fade into an establishing shot of a long brick building built in the 60s. The sign out front identifies it as Stratford Northwestern Secondary School. Yellow school buses are dropping students off at the front door, and groups of younger kids are clustering nervously together. The date is September 7th, 2010, and it is the first day of grade 9 for the students who will become the class of 2014. As credits roll, the camera moves toward the school in a handheld point-of-view shot. We enter the lobby through huge front doors. We move through a crowd of terrified grade 9s and into the hallways. We never see the face of our protagonist. It could be you, it could be me, it could be any of us. As we follow our hero past the main gym, we see pictures of all the past athletes of the year. Someone from our year will win that award, although we have no idea who it is yet. Walking through the halls, we begin to see the different groups that make up our diverse school, well, as diverse as a school can get while still being in Stratford. We move past the cafeteria and turn right, finding ourselves in the tech hall. We see a group of people who must be the senior rugby players. They seem so huge and intimidating. This is the reason why our protagonist was nervous about coming to high school. Squeezing past, we wonder if we will ever get the chance to enjoy the camaraderie of playing on a school sport or being a part of a club here. Moving down the hall toward the famous Screaming Avocado, a group of guys in tough duck jackets and work boots crowd together in front of the machine shop. They must be the group who call themselves Hicks. They're hard-working students who usually drive trucks and listen to country music. We continue on the loop, passing hockey players proudly displaying various team jackets, fratty guys in khaki shorts and boat shoes, outgoing art students waiting outside the drama room, gamers frantically playing on their DSs near the business lab, and a wide variety of other people we never would have encountered in the quiet of our elementary schools. Our main character thinks about which group they will become a part of, and whether or not they will leave their legacy in the hallway, be it a piece of artwork, a Skills Canada photo, or a picture of their team after winning a championship for a school. Finding their way back to the main lobby, the students are herded into the main gym and told where to go for their first ever class. The first season of our TV show will follow our main characters through a series of misadventures as they struggle through their grade 9 year to find an identity for themselves. The whole class spends most of their time hanging out in the tech hallway, thinking there's security in numbers. The teachers and the older students are generally annoyed with this, especially when they're pushing each other around as part of a money fight. Many of them take geography with Mr. Stairs, and although they struggle with his 40-hour project about trees, he finds his way into the yearbook as favorite teacher more than a few times. One special episode will be about a huge game of Manhunt played at the Old Grove by Mr. Redfern's science class, and another will be about the insanity that was the tech rotation and Cooking with Larry.
Yes!
The school sports this year are very successful. Rugby travels to California. Basketball wins it here in Perth, and Mark Schmidt begins his dynasty in cross-country running. The boys' hockey team goes to a fight and a hockey game breaks out, but they take the conference title away from the sworn rivals at St. Mike's. The show will return for a second season the next September, with everyone now in grade 10. The characters begin to split off into smaller groups. They form closer friendships and become more involved in their school. The students take new classes, like specialty tech classes. They take history, introducing new characters like Mr. Fisher, who you've already met, and Miss Ritzma, whose epic debates tear apart several friendships. Every single student works on an entry for the YPI contest, and after having said goodbye to Miss McNair the year before, Mr. Ritzma is welcomed and quickly becomes the most enthusiastic member of the school. As season 3 begins, we see our cast of characters act more confident. Younger students look up to them. Coaches rely on them, and they begin to make decisions that will affect the rest of their lives. The show airs some special episodes shot on location around the world. The girls' volleyball team travels to Hawaii. The band travels to Cincinnati, and other students go as far as Webquay, New York, and Europe. Northwestern celebrates its 50th anniversary, and it seems like there is a fire drill every single day. In the 4th and final season, Northwestern is defined by the reign of the glorious and merciful leader, El Presidente Daniel Bald. This season is full of achievement, from the girls' hockey tournament win in Toronto, to the Huron-Perth championships in skiing, swimming, wrestling, curling, and volleyball, to a triple podium win at Skills Canada shared by Chris, Sydney, and yours truly. Skiers, runners, swimmers, and track and field athletes even make appearances at the provincial level. There are many more trips, from the beach at Port Franks to Chicago to Spain. The Nunavut trip marks the beginning of an exciting new program called Eat Fit, while the New York trip marks the end of any future New York trips. No high school narrative is complete without a prom episode, and the story of the class of 2014 is no different. All characters who attend have a great time dressing up and reflecting on high school before spending the next 2 hours trying to find a party. Speaking of that, who's gonna be hosting that for tonight? The final episode opens with an establishing shot of the Stratford Avon Theatre on the night of November 21st, 2014. We cut to a handheld point of view shot backstage showing a whole bunch of dressed up students gathered together. Music plays, and we follow our main characters out onto the stage, down the stairs, and into their seats. They sit patiently as awards are handed out, and listen while their valedictorian gives an amazing and inspirational speech. It might sound something like this. Good evening, sports fans. I'd like to thank Mr. Fisher for that flattering and very well-researched introduction. And I'd like to welcome you all to Stratford Northwestern's 2014 commencement. Over the years we've been here, we've shared many experiences and learned many lessons. Beyond the lessons that we learned in class, we learned a lot of life lessons from each other, most the hard way. Braun taught us to always try and use the table saw with the saw stop. Bennett taught us to always make sure you've got the right locker before you get the custodians to cut it open. Tim taught us how much art costs. From Daniel, we learned money isn't everything, and you can just as easily get girls in an old Buick Rendezvous as in something like a Ferrari. Dan demonstrated what kind of language is not appropriate in a debate. Steph taught us how important it is not to forget your cheat sheet. And Aiden taught us to always fill out the entire exam before you hand it in. Caitlin inspired us by demonstrating how you can still manage to pass despite being away for weeks at a time. Joel demonstrated why you never one bite a habanero pepper. And Aaron Yitzi taught many of us how not to use Snapchat. Toshi taught us that life isn't fair, and sometimes the guy who plays in this iPod all class will still beat you in that physics test. From Ben, we learned that studying hard pays off. Pays off to the tune of 80K to be exact. Ethan taught us to always wear a mouthguard. And thanks in part to Drew, we learned that you can't erase pens. Never. And Brent taught us to always stay classy. Yeah! There were many more lessons we taught each other, so I'd like to thank you for all the lessons that you've taught me, and hope that you've learned just as much. For everything we've done here, we have to thank the teachers, the ones who inspired us, motivated us, and went above and beyond their jobs by coaching, running clubs, and creating exciting classes. We have to thank the principals and the vice principals, the secretaries, the EAs, the guidance counselors, the librarians, and the custodians. Finally, of course, we have to thank our parents for their support in every chapter of our time here. We often take their contributions for granted, but everything we did and accomplished in the last 4 years has been thanks to their constant guidance and encouragement. Tonight is as much about them as it is about us. In reflection, I've had a lot of fun here. Class may not have always been the greatest experience. They were stressful, exhausting, and sometimes a little sad. But to quote the wise Mackenzie Carter, anything is great when you have the right people around you. At Northwestern, I've done things I never would have had the opportunity to do anywhere else, and met people I never would have associated with if I went somewhere else. I guess I had fun during a lot of my classes. I know I had fun playing sports. I had a lot of fun on our trip to Nunavut, and allegedly too much fun on our trip to New York. I hope that everyone has some great memories that were created here, and can look back on them fondly. High school had a great impact on all of us. Maybe you decided what you wanted to be when you were older. Maybe you met the girl you're going to marry. Maybe you met the person who's going to be your best friend for the rest of your life. It changed us, and it made you the person who you are today. And tonight, when you walk up here and take your diploma, it's over. You may be doing fifth year, you may be at college or university, you may be working through an apprenticeship, or you might already have a job. But no matter what, you are now graduates of Stratford Northwestern Secondary School. By most accounts, high school is over. A major chapter of your life has finally ended. And now, all we can do is learn from that and look forward to what is next. In the words of the famous Italian poet Dante Alighieri, remember tonight, for it is the beginning of forever. Thank you. And that's it.